Good afternoon, Bloomington. It is Friday at 3:02 p.m. You're listening to WIUX LP Bloomington, and this is Growing Pains, the show where we do a lot of cool things, including interviewing local and touring artists. Today, I'm joined in the studio by first-time guest, Slug. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Of course. We've got Keegan and Audrey. Do you guys want to introduce yourself really quick before we get to talking?
Yeah, sure. Keegan, you go first.
I'm Keegan. I'm actually the VP of content on WIUX and friend of Natalie, so we're so thankful for her to have us today. We just dropped a record today. It's a 5-song EP called State Fair, and this is our first one in like 3 years, I guess. Mm-hmm. And we worked on it all summer with a bunch of other audio engineering majors at IU. Yeah, and it's released through a record label that some of us had started called the Humdrum Press. So if you want to follow us on Instagram, Slug Band, or check out Humdrum Press, this is the first of a couple records. So.
Mm-hmm. And the first of some interviews here on the show. So, yes.
Yeah, very exciting. I'm Audrey. I'm a freshman here at IU, and Keegan and I are siblings. So, and yeah, the next Humdrum release is next Friday. Mm-hmm. So that one will be super good.
Yeah.
Super excited.
And that's Allie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, exciting. Well, I'm super excited to listen through this EP. It's beautiful. Yes, disclaimer, we all know each other outside of this space. But I think that will make for some good conversation. So lots to talk about in terms of your guys' relationships, the EP, Humdrum, recording this summer. I think the best course of action, if you guys agree, is to just get started with the opener of the EP, hear kind of what you're all about, Milk Crate.
Sure, yeah.
Cool.
Definitely.
Do you have any preliminary thoughts before we play it?
I think this is one of those demos that I think we heard and we were like, yeah, this is going to be the song, and definitely an opener. I just think the way that the arrangement ended up happening, it's like a great, I don't know, I think especially on this EP we focused on moments and like arrangement in terms of like how the track flows. I think we did a great job with the energy on this one, and I just think it was a no-brainer that it was an opener.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that the style of the 5 songs on the EP can kind of differ a little bit, but this one does a good job kind of tying them all together.
Yeah, this is kind of like a thesis piece, I would say, doing kind of like the acoustic, kind of the folkier stuff with the more, I don't know, spacey, shoegaze stuff. So I'm glad that this is the first one.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's get right into it. Milk Crate by Slug. Enjoy. All right, and we're back. That was Milk Crate, the opener of the State Fair EP. There's so much to talk about. I think it's a great opener. I love the little whirly synths going on in the beginning, which is definitely, I feel like the synths, the harmonies, are like a constant theme throughout the EP, the banjo, guitar. Can you talk to me a little bit about, you were just saying, Audrey, about the recording of the song, and this was kind of your first impression of Max DeFrisco, who was the producer of this.
So the rest of the EP was mostly recorded like over the summer in Allie's living room and sometimes in Max's living room. But this song we recorded almost a year ago, actually, I think like last February. And I was definitely a little intimidated because for our first project, we did a lot of it in our high school and in our basement and kind of just with whatever equipment we had, and being able to use like an actual studio room with working with someone who I had never met and whose music I admired so much was a little bit intimidating, but I immediately felt so included and comfortable, and it made me so excited to do more. That we did, honestly, most of Milk Crate in one day, so it was kind of a long, tedious day. I don't know if Keegan would agree, but it was so fun. Like, it was just, like, fun to hear how, like, I don't know if you relate to this, but sometimes, like, you hear a demo and you're like, I can see all that this is going to be, but it isn't until you actually start recording that you see it all come together. And it's super fun.
And I think this song is maybe a little special because I remember when Max approached us first about being interested in doing some sort of production. We had an EP that he said he had liked, and I told him that we had a couple songs that me and Audrey wrote. And he was like, okay, send them to me. So I sent him this demo, and I think hopefully this was my interpretation of the situation, but this was really the one that he was like, yeah, let's do it. So this was the first thing we did in the studio. Like that first, like Travis picking that I do in the very, very beginning of this song is like the very first thing we ever recorded. So it's chronological in the album and in real life.
Right. Yeah. That's super cool. But it's surprising to me because it all sounds very uniform. Like, I don't hear a big difference between this one and the other 4 songs. So
yeah, I think, but also just again, we're the same players, and I think we approach, I don't know. And I mean, Max did a great job with the mixing on all of them, so he was able to make all of them sound, kind of blown out in a way that we like it.
Yes. I'm curious. I would like to go back to your origins way back in the day. From my understanding, I mean, your first EP, Picnic, came out in 2021. You were probably working on that much before then.
Yeah.
I'm imagining it was a COVID project of sorts.
Actually, a lot of the songs at Picnic were written before COVID.
Okay. Yeah.
I used to throw a music festival in high school called Uchella. And like student bands would sign up, and me and our friend Cordell and Audrey just performed that day. Audrey actually wasn't even singing. Audrey was playing guitar. We had another vocalist.
Oh, wow.
And
I didn't even go to high school yet, actually.
Yeah, Audrey was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, we played. And I mean, we were terrible, but I think you have to have a ton of shows where you're like terrible first.
My impression was like it wasn't really a serious thing at first. Like Keegan was just like, we need a guitarist, like, will you play? And I was like, sure. And I don't know where the name Slug came from, I won't lie. Like that was Keegan and Cordell's creation, I think. But then when I got to high school, we had like another show that we were gonna play, and we're like, like this could be an actual thing. And we sat down and we wrote Stuck at Home. That was the first song we ever wrote as a band, really. So, and then from there, it just kind of kept going. And
I mean, Audrey was sang and performed her whole entire life. In high school, I took a bunch of music tech classes, and I would make beats for my friends. And people I think before it was Slug Rug, it was like the dumb rap music that I was making. But there was still like an audience, there was still interaction, so it all felt like training for this moment when it became, not that it is serious now, but like to the point where we're making stuff that we're proud of. We already have so much practice with like what releasing something feels like.
Right. Yeah. I think it's awesome that, I mean, you were in middle school and part of this band. I'm just thinking of my relationship with my brother. If I needed a guitarist, I would have not asked him. I would have been like, go home. So it sounds like you guys have always had or I don't want to editorialize, but your relationship, I mean, the fact that you guys have been involved in music things together for so long is pretty cool. And I feel like unusual in a sense, but just like, how has your relationship as siblings kind of evolved over the years? Were you hesitant to have Audrey in at first, or have you guys just always had that relationship?
I don't think so. I in my thing, I think it works just because I think Audrey and I have grown up thanks to our dad, which I know he's listening right now. So shout out to my dad. We just grew up with, I think, cool music. And I think just you grow up listening to what your parents listen to. And even if me and my dad's music taste is not exactly the same, I feel like growing up with cool stuff is so important in Audrey. And I grew up under the same cool stuff. So I feel like her and I know mutually together, even if we weren't super technical, we were just like, okay, we know what cool things sound like. We're gonna like brute force this until we come up with something we think sounds cool.
Yeah.
And we also definitely fought a lot growing up. Like and I don't think we were close, like super close, because as middle schoolers are, like, super mature.
It's a wild west.
But I don't remember exactly how I felt, but I think I just felt really cool. I was like, yeah, I'm playing with my brother and his friends.
Yeah.
And then because of that, like, music is our life, so I think it's the main thing we talk about and the main thing we do, which makes it pretty easy to get along too.
Yeah. We'll talk more about like where you guys are at today. I'm just curious. You've kind of folded a lot more people into the mix for the making of this project and for the live band. How is it like working with each other in the presence of other people now?
I think it's good. This summer especially was kind of weird because I was working on 2 other records simultaneously, and any given day we could be working on someone's project.
Yeah.
And so there were some days that there were parts of it that Audrey wasn't even there, and I was relying on my own intuition, but the intuition of other people around me. But I think Audrey and I have, at least I would hope, enough trust in each other and our decisions to be like, well, in a moment situation where like maybe someone's doing something, someone produces something a certain way, someone plays a certain way, I have to both think, okay, I think this is cool, I think this is wacky, but I'm like, is this something that Audrey would think would be as equally cool? So I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
And there are definitely times when like if I did disagree, like I would just say so. I know I was telling you earlier that like with Crush, the second song on our EP, originally I think it was super synth heavy and I just really didn't like it, and I just told Keegan, I was like, I don't like it, because I wasn't there for that part, and even if I was, the synth side of things is not something I'm familiar with at all. Like I just will hear it and be like, oh, that sounds good, or that doesn't sound good. So so when we disagreed, we just compromise, and I think working with other people made us able to see things a little bit more removed, which was good. Because it's super easy to be self-critical.
Right.
And having other people be like, oh, this is really good. You remind yourself like, oh, it actually can be really good.
Yeah. I think with that, we should hear that song, Crush,
Yep.
minus some of the synths that were originally there. This is the second song on State Fair by Slug. Enjoy.
Big things in life when my
All right, we're back. That was Crush, Slug Rug. We were talking a little bit as the song was playing about just how these songs were written in the first place. So I'm interested if you could share some insight into how these songs on the EP came to be when they first started to be written. If there are any songs that were cut, maybe. How did it start?
I think just the Slug Rug way is the way we've approached just songwriting. Is like either I'll come up with like a demo, like I'll write something that's literally intro, verse, chorus, whatever, bridge. Mm. Literally all instrumental. I have no idea what the top line is going to be. And then either we'll workshop something or I'll even just give it to Audrey and she'll be like, okay, I have something. And then we go sit down and record on top of it. Or like a song like State Fair, which I think is honestly the coolest blend of our two strengths, that song especially. Mm-hmm. Like that's just like the majority of the song is like a 3-chord song, and Audrey was able to write something compelling with only 3 chords for 4.5 minutes or whatever, and then I would just play a bunch of stuff on top of it. So
yeah
and I think I was trying to think of, like, if we had cut things, and we definitely have. Like, I can think of so many songs I probably... Because a lot of these were in such a long time ago, too. Mm-hmm. That during that period of my life, I feel like I probably wrote dozens of songs, but probably, like, a handful I showed to Keegan, and a handful we were like, these are good. And same other way around. Like, there were definitely a lot of tracks Keegan would show me, and we would think they're really cool, but they got cut so early that I honestly couldn't even remember what a lot of them are.
So you had the core 5 like kind of locked down.
Sure, these just felt the most convincing and complete, and I would say together. Like, even though there's so many different genres going on here, this one sounds like I try to make it sound like a beach house song in some ways, or like a Cocktail Twins song in another way. But then we also have folk songs, and it's just like, in theory, they're not supposed to go together, but I feel like I could see the vision, and Max was really helpful in seeing that vision, and like these all felt like stylistically they could be married together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. We were talking a little bit, but just in terms of lyrics when they were written, do you find yourself writing? You're talking about because you're writing with your brother and you're showing songs to your brother, so there's like obviously thinking about what he's gonna think of lyrics and stuff. But do you find yourself drawing a lot from very specific instances in your life, or kind of imagining scenarios? Like what do you tap into when you're writing?
I think it totally depends. Like I was saying, like when we would kind of all write together, I think it was definitely more of just like trying to write about universal experiences or just, using lyrics and melodies as like another instrument in a song. But then when I write alone, I definitely think it's a little more personal. Also just depending on the song. Sometimes I'll have like a lyric idea or just like an idea of something I want to write about and I'll write. Or sometimes I'll have a chord progression and I'll be like, this feels like this feeling. Like this feels like what this feels like. And I'll be like, that's what it... And sometimes I feel like it doesn't really have one specific meaning at all. Sometimes sometimes lyrics in songs aren't a story and like they're just like a feeling at one part and a different feeling at another part. So that's just a long-winded way of saying I feel like all of the above, like everything.
But I think for me, that's my favorite lyricism in general, and I'm just appreciative that we approach it that way. It's just like, it's opaque enough that anybody can insert their own like experience or interpretation of it.
Right, yeah.
But it's not just being pulled out of nowhere. Like all these things are not things that we're necessarily feeling, but like things that we're trying to tell a story about. And I think that makes music more timeless, and I think that makes music a little bit more universally approachable. So
and then I feel like there are songs like State Fair where I listen and I love them, but I can hear a lot of like my teenage angst in there for sure. I think a lot of it comes from that, which I appreciate about this, because even though we're only releasing it now, like these songs have been like years in the making, and I really appreciate seeing things I would write when I was a sophomore in high school and now being like, ugh.
Yeah.
What a time.
Yeah. I think that's really cool. I feel like some people that I talk to, if the song doesn't resonate with them right then, like they're not going to make it. But the fact that you were able to take what you were feeling then and bring it into the modern day is really cool. And it does feel universal. So
thanks.
Awesome. I really want to we'll talk a little bit just about the actual recording process, and then we'll listen to Salty Pancake and get back into it. But, so yes, this summer, this was the big summer. In addition to your EP, Allie's album was also recorded. Max's too. Yours is the shortest of the bunch. Allie's is how many tracks? 10 tracks? 12?
I try to think of it in minutes. It's like ours is 17 minutes, and both Max and Allie's are like 25? I think towards 30-minute mark.
Okay, so there's a lot going on, and like you were saying, you're switching between projects at any given day. Talk, Keegan, about the initial setup, because I know it wasn't a given that you'd have Allie's space to record in.
Like the initial setup, as in the beginning of the summer.
Yeah. How did it kick off?
Well, I think we had just recorded Milk Crate, kind of like the bare bones of it, for a really long time, and it was floating around, and we were showing it to friends, and we were like, hey, look at this cool thing we were doing. We really had no plans for what the EP was going to look like.
Right.
We were hoping we could find some sort of studio space, and Max was simultaneously producing some of Allie's stuff in 405, and so Eleanor was kind of at the same state as Milk Crate, and Eleanor was kind of being shopped around in the same way. We were kind of... But then... kind of perfect worlds came together. All three of us were in town. I got a job through the audio department with Allie, and none of us really had anything to do, and Allie's roommates had moved out, so we totally renovated her living room into kind of like a fully functioning space. There's it's kind of hard to describe it verbally how glorious it was, but a bunch of different audio engineering students were all like, oh yeah, you can have my gear for the summer, you can have my gear. So people would be in and out every day. Like you would see 5 or 6 audio people at any given point, and people would, again, like I said, donate their gear or donate their like opinion, or I don't know, maybe come play or donate an instrument, or like some nights it was literally just playing video games and eating dinner. So, and I don't know, I wish that part of the summer... It's less so on our record, but way more so on Allie's record, because there are literal like audio artifacts where I can hear like some of these social interactions in the summer happen. But like this, and I wrote about it on our Instagram caption today, but like this album and all the albums they're really community works. Like I'm so thankful that we're here in Bloomington and that I was able to study audio here because I was able to meet a ton of people that I think most importantly care about me, but were able to buy into this thing that I was super passionate about. So, yeah. And that was nothing about the setup, but it was important for me to say.
No, you're setting the scene. I have a couple, as you said, artifacts from this summer that I want to ask you about. Can you tell me about the boot mug?
Oh, oh my gosh, the boot mug.
So Allie has like a very eclectic like cup collection. I think it was like a gift from her, but it was literally a boot, like a glass boot with a handle on it, and I drank from it every day this summer.
And
like
it was usually Sour Warhead's Ghost energy drink, and it was the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted in my life.
But it ended up it's got instrumental credits on one of the 3 records. So if you can figure it out, it's kind of like a Easter egg where the boot cup is. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was super fun. I loved when the boot cup would come out. I was always scared it was going to be knocked over. It was always on the floor. We were walking around everywhere. There's so much equipment. And I was like, the boot cup is going to be kicked over. I don't think it was, though.
Lo and behold, it did not. That's awesome. Well, cool. Thank you for that insight. I would love to listen now to Salty Pancake, which is the second single that came out. With a super really quickly before we listen, there's a music video out animated by. Can you tell me more about who it's animated by? Because it's pretty
her
cool.
Her username is @Asnerek. It's like AANSNEREK. She was like a TikTok account that would always come on my page, and I think it's because she would use, I don't know, like a Nick Drake or like a Sundays or like a Adrian song, and of course it would come up on my For You page. But she was like my favorite animator, and I think not in the world seems hyperbolic, but it's just like she's got this cool like almost paper style, and it's like kind of like Ghibli vibes, and I just, especially for this song, which is kind of about like, I don't want to say loss of childhood, but like the yearning of being a young person. I think I was like, there's no one that could better capture it visually than her. So check out that video if you're interested.
Yes.
Slug Rug Band on Instagram.
Pull it up right now.
Yeah, and
watch
I'll just
along.
say quickly that like Keegan had sent me one of her TikToks, and he was like, have you seen these before? And I definitely have, like on my For You page. I was like, yeah, like why? And he was like, oh well, I DM'd her and I asked her to make a music video, and she said yes. And it was just like probably one of the best surprises. That wasn't even, I mean, I knew we had like the idea of a music video, but it was so funny because that's so Keegan. Like he just has such good initiative, and just he was like, I want to ask her, so I asked her.
Yeah.
And it worked out for us. So
Awesome. Well, hopefully you've had enough time to pull it up. It's adorable. But yes, this is Salty Pancake. We're about to be halfway through the EP. Enjoy.
The first day I knew you were mine. Down at the blue hole, we swam until our feet got too cold. Timing's not on my side. Will you meet me at the end of our time? When all is said and done, can I still call you mine? And in the morning time, dewy grass feels the blood. And we were in our pride. I wish I'd said the world's hardest goodbye.
All right, we're back. Salty Pancake. That was the end of the song, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. I was like, oh. So yes, we have the scene set for recording this summer. What were the days like? Because I know that you guys were working really hard for hours on end, but like, what was kind of the schedule? Was there any worry that it wouldn't be able to be finished in time?
I'll touch on this first just because I was only there for the tiniest portion.
Yeah.
And I feel like I got kind of like a snapshot of what it was like because I know Keegan was there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When I was there, we would get there. The first time I went for like 2 days, we got there super early. I remember one morning and stayed literally all day.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, okay, we know what we want to do. We'll get, especially the parts, because obviously I wasn't living in Bloomington. We'll
And
get
to
the parts
set the scene, there's sticky notes
everywhere
on the wall.
Everywhere.
With each song and every instrument that needs to be
Yes.
recorded. And when
Right.
you had completed it, you would rip the sticky note off.
Mm-hmm.
So we were, I think, pretty on track, especially because I feel like I had such a vision in my head with just like how I wanted the vocals to sound and how I wanted the guitar to sound. And since I wasn't going to be performing on the record more than that, I just didn't have to worry about that yet. But then halfway through the first day, the power went out in literally all of Bloomington. So for those days there, we ended up having to just play a lot of cards.
Slaps.
Yeah, we played a lot of Egyptian rat slap and kind of waiting it out. But those are some of my most memorable days over the summer just because it was so fun. And I had never known Nally before that. And I feel like I got so lucky to be around those people. And like Keegan said, like everyone was just really creative all the time. There was always something going on. So even when we weren't recording, like I would remember people writing or playing video games or
Drinking
whatever.
Ghost.
Yeah. Yeah, our EP was kind of crazy because the majority of the tracking was done in like 48 hours compared to Allie's album, which like started in early May, finished. I like tracked strings for her early September, so hers was like a huge stretch. And I understand Max's like motivation for that because I just remember he was like, we have Audrey in town the next 2 days. We're just getting this EP done. So, I would say 99% of the work happened outside of those 2 days, just in terms of like everything else that goes into releasing a record. But those 2 days, we definitely got the most recording done we ever did that whole summer.
Mm-hmm. Were there any unexpected challenges or just visions you had that you kind of had to pivot once you were actually recording?
I don't necessarily think so. I mean, I think I was able to, if you listen to our demos, I think our demos, compared to most people I talk to who, like, do this whole record-making process, they're pretty robust. Like, the way that I approach writing a song is, like, I have to have a bass part, a synth part, a guitar part. Like, everything is pretty much finished by the time that we go into the recording booth. So I would say, like, they sound way different than the demos, but I would, at the same time, I think they're all in spirit, kind of what we were envisioning.
Yeah.
I think the only challenge, maybe, I don't know if Keegan agrees with this, but for me was, like, I definitely had, like, demo-itis with some songs, especially with Crush. I really loved our demo for that, and it was so hard for me to creatively move on. And, like, when there were new parts added or when, like, when a lot of my favorite parts just didn't work in the final version we were doing, I was like, oh, I just missed that. Or, like, Salty Pancake was such a, like, bare song when we first did it. Except for those MIDI strings that we had on the demo were pretty good. So I was a little nervous about everything we were going to add. And then when I first heard, like, the finished version of that, I cried because it worked out so well. So sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it makes it so much better. But I think that was my biggest challenge.
Yeah, I guess you gotta, but it's also hard, like, because you were there for such a short amount of time. So you just come in, do your part, and leave. And, like, it's hard to not see every little thing going on behind the scenes. But I think it's just amazing that, like, obviously you had Keegan going into this, but you had just met Max, you were just meeting Allie. Like, what was the transition? Because you were about to come into your freshman year of college. Like, I don't know, just kind of how do you view, was it a lot to be doing all of this recording before coming in? Did it feel like a good introduction into what life at IU would be like? Just kind of how did you contextualize it all?
I think it felt surreal. I feel like maybe I wouldn't say it's a good example of what life at IU would be like for literally anyone else. I felt like I was the luckiest person in the world because it gave me a little bit of imposter syndrome because there are all these like super insanely smart audio engineering students, and I thought they were not that I think they are all so cool. And I was there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything technical. I am not going to be in a Jacobs major. But it was super exciting. It was one of the main reasons I wanted to come to IU. I remember being from Indiana, I remember being like, oh, I want to get out of state, of course, like always. But when it came down to it, and I knew IU was probably the choice, I remember thinking that, like, this is probably what I was most excited to do while I was here. And I felt so lucky, and I felt so welcomed by everyone, even though I don't know why I thought people would be like, oh, you're not an audio engineering student. You don't know what music is. Of course no one's like that. I think it's the nicest, coolest group of people I've ever gotten to know, and I'm grateful that I know them.
Amazing. I want to talk more about kind of where we're at now, because we've got about 15 minutes left. So we're going to play State Fair, if that's okay. This might be my favorite song on the EP. I love the little stop towards the end. But this is State Fair, Slug. Enjoy.
Me enough in a day, so the sun fades, I can say it's your fault. We both know Tuesday will pass without a word. I won't cry, it hurts just enough to burn. You know I'd kill for you, smile and say I know you found a girl, no longer bored, and she's your world in outline. You'll be back someday, I'll take it, I'm afraid.
All right, we're back. That was State Fair. We were kind of just chatting about where we're at today, which is you guys played your first show. The EP just dropped tonight. I have a question for you, Keegan, because I've known you for like a year and a half at this point, and I've known you as an audiophile, I've known you as an audio engineer, and I knew that you had this band and that you played guitar, but like this semester was the first time I really saw that actually happen here in Bloomington. So it's been really cool, especially since Picnic released while you guys were in high school. So just how does it feel to have, it's not like a new part of you, but how does it feel to share this stuff with a different group of people?
Sure. I just felt like I spent 2 years, networking is the wrong word, because all these people were right next to me in the very beginning. But I remember being like, okay, once Audrey gets here, it'll all be like, that's just everything we need to do until the moment she's here. I just need to prep for. And of course, like all the people that are so instrumental to this record and to Humdrum and everything around it were literally within 5 feet of me since my freshman year in every class. I think eventually we were able to form relationships deep enough that they were like, okay, I'm going to trust you to work on my art in this way. And I love it. Like, this is literally the dream. I don't really know how much longer it could be so platonic, like being in a band. It's just all my friends come to all of our shows. People post our stuff on their story. People are really receptive to all the stuff we're coming out with. So it's just like, I don't know how much better it could get.
Yeah, cool. I feel like there's been, it was like you said, it seemed like a shared group already, and then to have, like, just through knowing Max and knowing you guys, I've gotten to know Allie, and then I feel like that's why the Humdrum press is so cool, because it packages things that people would surely all like, and gives them to people
together. But also, like, for those listening who don't really know the concept, it's just like Allie played so much on our record. I was there every day for Allie's record. It's like they're all spearheaded by different musicians, but these records are so tied together musically that, like, but it's also like, I think my relationship with Max or my relationship with Allie is strong, exists to begin with. Like, it could have been anything, but I think it's because we have such similar musical passions in terms of, like, I just remember the first conversation I really ever had with Max was about Nick Drake, and I was like, okay, this is gonna make sense.
Yeah.
For the next couple of years.
Yeah. I want to give you all the chance to talk a little bit more about Humdrum if you want. It's just been really cool to see the rollouts and how on top of everything everyone has been. But is there a part to being part of this label that you really enjoy outside of the music? Like, there's been the music video making and the scheduling shows. Is there anything, like, outside of directly of making music that you yourselves, like, really enjoy, like the business of being an artist?
I think that I really have enjoyed, like, the Humdrum meetings. I love seeing how passionate Max and Braden and just everyone is about it. It's like, I think it just makes everything feel worthwhile to see how much they care and how serious they take it. I love seeing that. I love every, like, media thing we've done. So, like, the photo shoot we did, and, like, the videos we've filmed, which will come out in a couple months. Just being able to see everyone, like, pretty regularly, and have relationships with them too outside of just recording.
Yes, and I think that's an important thing. Like, Humdrum felt like a friend group. It was a friend group that turned into a label, if that makes sense. Like, this summer there was just as much B-movie watching or video games or Brewsters or just the beautiful part about these 3 records is that they will forever be artifacts in one of the greatest summer of my life, if that makes sense.
That's amazing. And it's so cool that like it doesn't stop here with the release. You have videos coming out and shows.
Sure. Hopefully there's
scheduled
tons of shows outside of Bloomington in the spring and label is a fun word because I love indies. I love like have rosters and I love stuff like that, but I'm like it's more of like a resource management. We're all putting the little pieces of contributions we can to this big pool. So whatever Humdrum looks like, it's like, okay, we've got a bunch of other musicians that are doing similar things. We could do a show with Max and 4 of his band members play with us and we only have to pay for Audrey and I to travel, if that makes sense. So I'm just like all the different possibilities for what a collective or a label can look like. I'm just so excited by.
Is there anything that you're excited for in the future?
Mostly just playing live shows. I think that was the thing. I don't know about Keegan, but I feel like we didn't get to do enough of in high school because it also takes a lot of practice to sound good, I think.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite weeks so far was practicing with Allie and Ethan, who play with us live. It was so fun. Like, I can't think of anything that's more fun, anything that makes me be in the zone more. And so I'm so excited to practice more and play live this year.
Yeah, awesome. We're going to end by listening to Gossip in the Grocery Store. Before we have that play us out, is there anything else you'd like to say? Anybody you want to shout out? Anything at all?
Most importantly, Madison, former WAOX art director. She we had talked about it for years. Like, I was a freshman here, and I just remember loving her art style. Like I said, Asnerick was maybe my favorite animator in the world. Madison, by far, I would say, is like my favorite designer in my room. Every poster she's ever made, WAOX or non-WAOX related. It's just, she is just so good at, like, I don't really know how to explain it other than I'm just so appreciative of her tastes, and I feel like it aligns with so many artistic sensibilities that I'm always going for. But she's also amazing just because I had her listen to the record, and she was able to produce these 3 really cool, like, equally abstract, equally colorful stuff. So if you're interested in seeing those beautiful covers, check us out on Slug Band and Instagram.
I will agree with that. Madison's artwork is amazing. I couldn't think of like album covers or an EP cover that like better represents like what I felt like it sounded like. But also just for everyone who listens and is so supportive, like almost daily, especially the past 2 weeks since our first single came out, like I always feel like every day I'm on the verge of tears from how nice everyone is all the time. Like I just I don't want to say it feels undeserving, but it feels so surreal.
Yeah.
So that's made it all worth it.
Good. I think it's well deserved. Yeah. Well, I have really enjoyed talking with you about this EP today. We're going to end by playing out with Gossip in the Grocery Store. This has been Growing Pains. I'm here every Friday at 3 p.m. I'm planning on it. I haven't actually asked, but I'm planning to have the other Humdrum guest on in the future, so stay tuned for that. You can stream State Fair, the EP, anywhere. Follow Slug Band on Instagram at Slug Band. Okay, perfect. Thank you all for joining me today. Thank you, Keegan and Audrey. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks
Thank you,
for having
Natalie.
us.
Of
Thank
course. We will end today with Gossip in the Grocery Store, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Drove down the road where you used to live and I couldn't breathe. Wanted to ask how your dad was doing, does he like me? And I don't wanna hear another falsehood about good memories. 'Cause rocks under your chin and running home with bleeding shins don't sound like fun to me. I heard about what happened when you went last fall. Gossip in the grocery store and I didn't call. There was gin upon her breath and she was smoking till her death. It's no one's fault. I know your guilt is all consuming. You said I was too assuming and it's my So keep me in the loop if you come back in the spring. Forgiving so damn hard, but darling, that's just a thing. I'll paint your walls with shades of blue, 'cause I know sorry just won't do. So removed. See the eyes when things get bad. Start resenting me for that. I